We are live. Okay. Okay. Let's get Kelson here. Guys, another week. Another weekly health report. Kelsey's just on her way in here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How
Happy
are you?
Thursday.
Happy Thursday, buddy.
Yeah, look at you. Got the sun glistening on your face. How nice is
Oh,
that?
I know. Austin is significantly nicer right now than most places. So I'm just grateful that I can get some vitamin D before we come back up to the gray. So,
No doubt. No doubt. That's amazing. It's been
yeah.
very wet here. Very, very
Yeah,
wet.
I know. I was saying that to Michael. I said it's one thing like to have summer for the whole 3 months of the 12 depressing months we have. So it's nice to come down to just get a reprieve for a week at a time. So I feel like I am alive again. And it's my circadian rhythm already. I felt the past couple days. I woke up in the morning, the sun was in here at like 6 a.m. and I was like, I'm awake.
So good. It's such
I
a
know.
big one, man. It's such a big one.
I know. I'm actually thinking of getting a light box again soon because it's just so, I just find it so rough for me.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, cool. Well, we're gonna get into that.
All
So
right.
we're here, guys. Another Living Weekly Health Report, going through all the trends happening in health and wellness right now.
I'm excited
So
about this one.
yeah. So we're gonna kick it off with hydrogen. Hydrogen making another splurge on the socials. I noticed,
Yeah.
which was really interesting. And the
Hmm.
hydrogen tablets. So
Yeah. That's a weird one. Like I can get with the water bottles. Like I bought those very, very expensive water bottles that make this much hydrogen water. And that are just ungodly expensive. And it makes sense. I understand the concept behind it, but I don't get the tablets. So maybe you can help me understand what's going on there.
yeah, let's dive into it.
Yeah.
So the tablets. So it's actually this because hydrogen's the smallest molecule on the planet, right? And what happens is the tablets actually, like when you drop them in,
Mm,
it's that combustion that occurs that's creating the hydrogen. So the
got it.
hydrogen, they're claiming that they're like 8 to 10 ppm, but in all reality it's more like 1 to 10 ppm in that
Okay.
wide range. And then you also got to be drinking it like really quick
Yeah.
and like within the first 10 minutes. And within that is another 30% variable of actually even getting that 1 to 10% hydrogen. So
Yeah.
there's magnesium in there and there's a little bit of salt, and that's like what's creating the reaction.
Got
So
it.
you're getting more from like it's an electrolyte tablet basically. I
Fair
don't
enough.
The hydrogen itself, like the hydrogen therapy and stuff, there's a lot of interesting research coming out
Yeah.
that I think it shows some potential for inflammation and stuff, but the
Mm-hmm.
technology just isn't quite there yet from what I'm seeing. Like the hydrogen tablets itself,
Mm-hmm.
you're you're getting maybe like 2 ppm, maybe even if you're getting that, like it's not enough hydrogen to actually do anything.
Well,
So it's like,
and then I look at who's like promoting it too, right? I understand that there is a need to for a lot of these different, I don't, I'm going to call them influencers at this point, and because that's really what they are, coming up with new products in the space of the health space, but understanding like what these do and what how they really can affect you, and what's the reality. I mean, one of the things we've seen so much is making claims and then not necessarily being able to show data behind said claims. And so something like that, like an hydrogen molecule, when it's a tablet like that coming from somebody like Gary Brecka, I think is always a good, it's always worth taking a look at who's saying it and then maybe the claims that are being made. Because if they're not measuring to where they say they are, if he's saying it's 10 ppm versus what it actually ends up being, which is 1 to 4, I always wonder, is it an overall healthy product or is it just a sellability factor?
yeah, I honestly right now it's a sellability factor. Like
That's what
it's
it feels like.
because it's there's so many variables too, and like water temp plays a role. So like, is your water,
Interesting.
do you have it in a like a lab where you're getting the exact, so you can get to that
Right.
8 to 10 ppm?
Yeah.
Um,
Do they
like
discuss that? Do they discuss the temperature of the water? Like when they're saying that your water should be this, like when you're purchasing maybe a tablet like that, are they discussing the temperature?
I think they're saying room temp, so I think that's probably
Okay.
like, but which, so there's
Interesting.
some bit to it, but I mean, and it's all good. Like trying to start, the get into newer things. How can we continue to improve our health, stuff like that? But like when you break it down, you're better to just go with an electrolyte first thing in the morning than
Well,
anything else, which is
that's
going to
what
support it.
that was my next thought is like the mineral content alone in an electrolyte's going to for sure at least trump this idea of, this water. And like, I'm all for it. Like I said, I think any technology improvement is going to be great. It's just who's selling it, what is the motive, and then making sure that because most people don't have a way to actually check these things. So it's like you really got to trust the person that's saying that. Also, then just like the thing that you brought up before is talking about the dissipation time. So, like, how long can that actually last? Because you can't open the bottle and then leave it for an hour. It's just not going to be there. So, I think that's an issue. And when you talk about hydrogen water at all, there is a company I know that I originally bought a bottle from. And as soon as you open it, if you don't drink it right then and there, it's done. So to me, the idea of hydrogen water, I think it's coming. I think it's going to be good when it's perfected, but I think it's still one of those newer technologies that's maybe not 100% ready to be on the market, but is a really good way to sell and make money.
Yeah, yeah. When I do the deep dive, because that's a big other piece. It's like you got to do it in a closed container,
Yeah.
trap the hydrogen, then try and get it in, and the levels just aren't there. Hydrogen
Yeah.
therapy itself, I think, if you are interested in doing it, is the way to go. Like actually
Yeah.
go to a wellness place that's doing hydrogen and do it that way and do a
Right.
treatment is from the research that I've done is where that shows to see some promise, but even still the it is quite small.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I understand what people are saying when they feel better because they're being told they're going to feel better. So you're always going to get the placebo effect. You're always going to have these types of things happen. And then because of the minerals that are in there that aren't necessarily dissipating, you might feel a little bit better, but it's maybe not as good as you could feel maybe after hydrogen therapy in general.
Which I love. That part is always fascinating to me because there's this piece of like our power that we can have in just having a glass of water in the morning and
Yeah.
programming it ourselves, right? And just being like, this
Yeah.
water's heal my inflammation. This is going to
Yeah.
be set me for my day, set my intention, and
Hmm.
have it with some electrolytes or whatever. To me,
Yeah.
you're probably going to see. It'd be interesting to do a study like that to
Yeah.
see
Well,
how it worked out. But like that power that we have, we don't need to spend all this money on these quite yet.
no, and they have done some studies about that. There's a Japanese professor who has looked at the molecular structure of water after you speak to it and how it works. And they've frozen the water under a microscope to take a look at how it will develop after you speak to it, either negatively, positively, or ignore it. Same where he did the similar study around rice. When you yell at rice, when you talk to rice, vice versa, what it does. And what was really interesting is that when you spoke kindly to water, the fractal makeup of the water itself and the molecular structure had changed. And so there is a lot of evidence around when you speak to things positively because they still are, water and, trees are living and these things are living, but there is an aspect to water that's really fascinating to me. And I'm curious to see how that goes long term because I've noticed that even in myself, you can say it's placebo or you could say it's, similar to the study. Speaking positively to anything you eat and you drink always seems to have a better effect. Now, that could just be a cognitive thing, or it could actually be a molecular thing. But I think that would require a little more research to dive in on a personal level. But we've talked about this too with other things, whether it's SSRIs, ivermectin, or other ones. There is like stronger placebo responses from people when they're told this is what this is going to do and this is going to heal you, and they take it with that mindset thinking that that's going to be the product that's actually going to help them, save them, or heal them. And it's no different than water. And so I think it all comes back to what do you want to believe and how do you want that to affect you. It just shows that we are so much more our brains are so much stronger than we give themselves credit for, and that when we're willing to fight and try something different, if we speak to it positively, it will have a positive reaction.
Totally. And
Yeah.
we're 70% water, right? So
Yeah.
even that positive self-talk, if we know how that's going to reflect in the water, if we're
Yeah.
doing it to ourselves, that's going to
Yeah.
also molecularly affect the way we respond, right? And there's a lot of positive
Yeah.
psychology studies that wrap around that and kind of
Hmm.
gets into a little bit of a different sphere, but it's a simple way to get the same effect
Yeah.
while taking it in. So
Yeah.
really,
I think it's
really
good.
overall verdict is technology is interesting. But if you really want to dive into hydrogen and you're struggling with inflammation and stuff, it's looking for a wellness clinic that's doing the hydrogen therapy.
Yeah.
And some of these bits with the expensive water bottles and the tablets just aren't quite there yet.
Yeah, I just don't see them. I think they're going to be a little bit. I think it's on its way, which is a great start. I always love seeing where things start. I mean, again, always taking a look at who's saying it. There's a lot of different great stuff around Gary Brecka. This one, I feel like it's a bandwagon one currently, but I think it will over time get better. There is the other one I'm actually really excited about because I don't know about you, but I've been feeling the hell out of this in December. So I'm really glad that this is on our headline for number 2 because the December cortisol crash and nervous system reset is a wicked one. Oh my Christ. I have said this so many times the past couple weeks. It just feels like the end of the year, just whether it's overwhelm, whether it's looking at caffeine or sleep disruption. I am struggle bussing this month, son.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've been feeling it too. I've been feeling it
Yeah.
too. A lot of conversations I'm having with clients and stuff too, a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Like the light plays a role into that. I think,
Yeah, of
like you
course.
say, like the end of the year, been a big year, a lot of stuff changing, a lot of stuff happening. We're going
Yeah.
into the holiday season, which is an amazing time. But then we also kind of like there's all the stresses that come around with that, and
Yeah.
then wrapping up work for the year, wrapping up planning, how are we going to get to see all our family, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So this one is like the top searched thing on Google the last week, and that's end of the year cortisol crash.
Yeah, it's not a surprise. When I'm working with clients, something I always try to suggest if they're not looking at, always taking a look at all, the sugar content, the sleep content, and then the caffeine overload. Just because most people at this point they're striving to get to events and things, so they drink caffeine past 12 o'clock, then they can't sleep, then it's kind of going in a cycle. So I always suggest things like ketones or our electrolytes. Really good for this one. It makes a huge difference. It'll give you the boost. You're not going to have the crash. And then in terms of the nervous system reset, when we're looking at how we can affect our bodies on a regular basis without maybe sitting down to do an hour of breath work, I think one of the really great things to look at is the gargling or the humming. This is something I learned in brain treatment around the vagus nerve hack, and it's
I
just one
love
of my
that.
favorite ones. Yeah, so it's super simple. You can do it in the car. You can do it while you're walking. But essentially, all it is humming very loudly and pushing aggressively with your mouth and allowing your vocal cords to vibrate the vagus nerve. Or when you're singing in the car, that's why most people, when they sing in the car alone and they're just kind of belting out music, they get out and they feel much calmer. They're not quite sure why. It's because your vocal cords are vibrating your vagus nerve and are causing your stress reduction to go down and your cortisol to lower. And you kind of get out of that fight or flight and into that rest and digest. And I think that's what's so important if we're looking at what we can put in, but what else can we be doing throughout our days that aren't taking from our days, but are just something we can implement on a drive or on a walk. Those two things are definitely one of the biggest ones we see. And then obviously you have the breath reset, which is always just a really great one. Really quick, easy thing to do. Again, I love to do this with my son, especially before bed. It really helps drop the cortisol and the stress from the day, but it's a great additive to your day. And that is just breathing in your nose for 4 and out your mouth for 6. And then just repeating that on a cycle and just making sure that your exhales are always longer than your inhales and really being intentional about the breath. So making sure that you're trying to breathe in as high as you can on the collarbones and really expand the diaphragm there so your lungs are filling all of the way. And then as you're pushing out, really just allowing yourself to get all of that stagnant air that's in the lower lung and really try to push it out so that you can get all of that extra carbon out and really bring in that fresh oxygen, which will help also awaken you up, which is what we want for people who are tired and fatigued. But it will also give you that rest and digest vagus nerve calming state that everyone's so much looking for and desperate for in the busy time of December.
Love that. Love that.
Mhm.
So if say we're in the parking lot of the mall, things are at max capacity.
Yeah.
It's just the ultimate stress.
Yeah.
and we get a parking spot. We can feel the cortisol just pumping through.
Yeah.
What's if you just want to do it quick,
Yeah,
what's the
for sure.
steps to go through it? If you would you approach the vagus nerve one, or would you do the breath?
Depends on how much time you have. If you only have a very short period of time, I always go the vagus nerve one really quickly because that
Okay.
one will. There's a lot of device. Again, there's devices to do this for you, or you can just teach it and learn it yourself for your body. So it just looks like this. I'm not going to sing because nobody needs to hear that in their lives. So it's just very aggressively. Even if you have water, I can show you two techniques that we learned in brain treatment. Okay, so the first one is humming, and it's not like you want to and push really, 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 really hard as you can, and push as long as you can, and then stop and then take a deep inhale in your nose, and then and if you put your hands right here, you'll actually feel that vibrate. Your vocal cords will vibrate that vagus nerve. And then sitting there, take a few breaths. If you don't want to do the breathing, you're not a breathing for some reason, it just doesn't sit with you. Gargling is one of the best techniques you can do too. They teach us that one as well. So if you're
I
not
love
a
that.
hummer, gargling will do the exact same thing. It's a huge one. But with the breath, if you have a little more time, I would suggest take your seatbelt off. Just take a big exhale, empty your lungs all the way. Give your hands a shake. And then you just start in the nose for 4 and out for 6. And while you're going through this pattern, you want to try to consciously think, I'm removing the tongue from the roof of my mouth. I'm taking my shoulders off of my ears. I'm unclenching my jaw, and then repeating the pattern again. And I always suggest to do that until you feel your body calm. So it's not about necessarily doing an X amount. It's about really just trying to be hyper intentional. So on the inhale, breathing really high up the collarbone. Sometimes I find that's hard for people to activate. So I say tap up here. So it gives that mind body connection when you're breathing in.
Okay.
And then when you're exhaling, take your hands and put them right down here on your lower diaphragm and give yourself a little wiggle. And then again. Giving your hands a shake, letting that energy somatically move out the hands, and roll your shoulders back. And then you can get on with the clusterfuck of the day.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a super
I love
solid
that.
one,
Thank
but
you.
even with little humans before school, Christmas is chaotic. Being around a lot of people, you got to remember kids feel the stress of the holidays. Your family feels the stress of the holidays, and they don't necessarily want to get in the car and go visit 1,000 people. So before you get out of the car, just let them know how they're feeling matters. And if you don't want to hug someone, that's cool. But let's do some breaths before so that you can protect your space and your energy so that you can go in with a calmer mindset instead of a heightened mindset. Could have been a difficult drive, just could have been just a tired child. Same with you. Think of yourself that way. Your body needs a reset and you deserve to give it to yourself as much as you can throughout the day.
Love it. Love it. And
Yes.
such a fun thing. I love you bring up the little humans too, right? Because even if the car's getting chaotic, the little guys
Yeah.
and gals feel the energy. They're getting all rustic. Take a second, do it together as a family. Great
Yes.
family activity. Everyone
Yes.
feel the whole mall experience is fun.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be stressful. We don't have to make it that way. We just have to acknowledge that they're feeling something so that it comes back to us and then we become irritable and then we get reactive to them and then they become upset and it gets in this cycle. So stop the cycle before it starts. Or if it started, acknowledge that it started and how can we get proactive about it?
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. And one other, and then supplements. Any
Yeah.
substance you're taking to support the cortisol right now?
For me, I love GABA at night. GABA is a really great one, super easy to get. You guys can get it at a naturals food store. I'm also really cautious around caffeine intake. I take a lot, like a look at my electrolytes. I find if I'm not having electrolytes, that's normally where I'm crashing throughout the day. My ketones, always if I'm really got to push through, like yesterday, for example, I was going until very late. Very long day. I took a ketone at 3 o'clock instead of looking for caffeine. It made a huge difference on my cognitive ability. And when my brain didn't feel like it was melting, I was able to handle the stress a little different. So those are also really great. Lion's mane after 12 o'clock, I find really helps the frontal lobe take that humming down and that little bit of the buzz in the prefrontal cortex, which is a big help. And then always just making sure, especially in the winter, if you're on the West Coast, vitamin D, really looking at these things that you're not getting just because it is so hard on the body with your circadian rhythm, and just trying to, if you can, get up and get moving, get that water into you as soon as possible.
Love it, love it. And fun fact too, when the cortisol's high, we're draining more magnesium, sodium, potassium. So like the electrolytes, right? Like great one.
Yeah.
We have that salty Einstein. I love that one
Yeah.
in the afternoon. That's got the lion's mane in it too. The ketones I love. All these just like great ways to, other than going for the caffeine and continuing
Yeah.
to dump it.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's perfect for our third headline. The other one is the mood crash that comes with it all. So that's a lot around what you were chatting about earlier, the lack of
Mm-mm.
vitamin D, always being in the dark, for us here on the West Coast anyways.
Yeah.
And it's this mood crash that happens.
Yeah, it's big, it's massive. I think so often we think to ourselves, well, maybe life is just more stressful, maybe life is harder. Sure, you might have things going on, but taking a look at your vitamin D levels and the deficiencies that we feel, the seasonal affective disorder is, huh, sorry, the seasonal affective disorder is I get it on Tuesday, homie. We're almost there. Seasonal affective
Nice.
disorder is a big one for a lot of people, and they don't want to admit it because they think it's silly. They're like, well, how can the weather really affect me that much? Well, because it does. It affects you that much. You're a human being. You're biological creatures who need sunlight in your eyes, and you need it for your circadian rhythm. And that really helps how you go to bed at night and how you wake up in the morning. And it's just really important to take a look at understanding how sugar plays a part in the body, especially when you are already fatigued,
Mm.
and that crash. And then also what you can be doing in the winter, because I know we haven't really touched on this, but I think it's always important to acknowledge to people that winter is normally a hibernation time, not just for animals but just for human beings too, to go inward a little bit, to be a little more, slow it down a bit, whether it's planning, and just get a little more peace going for yourselves. It's okay to say, I don't want to go to the 13th Christmas party and have the 14th piece of cake. It's okay to protect your boundaries and your energy and say, I actually need rest, to rest and digest more than I need to go to another party. And it's okay to just say no. So I think when we're looking at vitamin D, that is going to be one of your biggest ones. I'm a big fan of it all year round, especially on the West Coast, making sure that you get enough. It will make a huge difference on how you feel from a depression state. Movement, water, vitamin D right now, and your rest are super important.
Yeah. I love you bring up the rest because we kind of come in this mentality that we just got to keep pushing, pushing, pushing. But it is a time when, especially on the West Coast, when we have longer days in summer and stuff, where we our bodies want to rest more, and like
Yeah,
that rest piece is just as important as the working out piece. It's just as important from a cognitive perspective with productivity, as
yeah,
well as the working out and the body's overall health. So if
yeah.
you can figure out a nap, even like a 15-minute meditation, even these
Mhm.
just integrating these quick 2 5 minute little breaths or hums throughout the day, what
Yeah.
that does for your coherence and getting the body back in that neutral state is so huge. And
Yeah.
that works out into our mood, allows things to our body to actually regulate and do its thing.
Yeah, I always say, even if the sun doesn't look like it's out, it's overcast, still go up, and you don't have to stare at the sun. I never say stare at the sun, but I always like to look in the vicinity of it to making sure that I'm getting it, not just on my skin, but in my eyes as much as possible. And when you're looking at things like vitamin D, just being very cautious of the type of vitamin D you're getting. Me personally, this is what I use. I use about 5,000 IU's a day, where a lot of people use around 1,000. You can absolutely go up. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I just go off of what I've learned through brain treatment and what the body actually absorbs. And the rest of it, if the body doesn't need it, it will just secrete it through urine. So you're not in that big state where you're gonna overdose on vitamin D. I don't see that happening for anyone. But to keep your vitamin D levels at an optimal level, to keep sickness away and to keep these things going, I always suggest between 1,000 and 5,000 IU's. If IUDs, if you can bring it in drop form, is always helpful, and
Mm.
under the tongue, and let it absorb for about 30 seconds before you swallow.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
great tip. Great tip. What do you,
Mhm.
I use, I like the red light in winter. I find the red light doing
Yeah.
a red light session, if you have a red light or anything like that, I find that to be really helpful.
My red lights currently did not get a chance to follow me to my new location, so that's a fun way of saying it. I'm looking at getting a new red light for me right now because that is a big one I notice is that's hugely beneficial, very helpful, and I know right around this time of year there's a lot of the companies are doing discounts and sales. So if you can get your hands on one of those, I always suggest it. It's great to have all year round, whether it's for injuries or just for your body in general to get the cells regenerating and moving. You can really never go wrong with a good light therapy. Always making sure to buy them from companies that are reputable and not like an Alibaba or a Temu because they're just not permeating deep enough into the skin. So try not to get, bought and paid for by one of those. If you're going to go get one, go get a proper one. And I do know that there was a few companies, including Kala, who were doing deals with Costco and some things like that. So taking a look around and going either on their websites or checking out some of the partnerships they have, you guys can get them there. I don't currently have a partnership, so it's not like I can promote one or the other. I just know that red light has made a huge difference on me when I have access to it.
Yeah, and me too. I have no association with the company, but the company Redmedy is a
Mm-hmm.
friend of mine, and he's doing some awesome work with it at really great prices, and it's all been designed by him, proper
Right.
getting to the different layers, and his stuff has just been immensely helpful for me in this time period. So like check it out, even like local guys and stuff like that for
Mhm.
us Canadians out there. That
Yeah.
a good one to check out.
Yeah, they're great for injury too. If you're a person who's maybe a little more movement based, physical, and you have ailments and things like that, having a red light that you can put onto an injury is going to help that heal twice as fast. And so it's a dual purpose thing. It's just great for all around. I used it with my son when he was having ankle issues and stuff. So it's not like it has to be a certain age and above. We even have used it with friends of ours, pets who have had broken legs. They've healed faster too. So red light is applicable to all biological creatures and is quite beneficial for arthritis and other regenerative turnover of the cells.
Yeah, yeah, great. I got a
Mhm.
cool question here. I use a PEMF infrared sauna mat. Would you
Yeah.
recommend using a red light too?
I think there's nothing wrong with doubling up on things like that. I think that you have to always be cautious and cognizant of like becoming a biohacking obsessed person where like if I don't do it that day, it becomes a detriment to your life. But I think if you can add in some of these things, I think you're always going to be better off than not. Now that we understand the body and what it needs a little more, there's no reason why we can't give it that.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
I use both. I have the infrared sauna and then
Yeah.
the red light as well. I
Nice.
also got a red light belt with a massager on it that works great
Oh,
for health and back and stuff, which is
love that.
awesome. Yeah. So
That's
any of
great.
those, really finding the combo that works for you, right? And like
Yeah.
kind of working in that routine. I think this time of year too, sleep cycles, all these things, a lot of good data around like having
Hmm.
that kind of same time when we're going to bed and
Yeah.
trying to create a bit of that rhythm during this time of year is going to really
Yeah.
help too. I know that's challenging, especially throughout the holidays, but any ways we can kind of like do that, and then obviously the devices, just get the devices out of there for like an
Yeah.
hour before bed, right? And let the system come down, read a
Yeah.
book, just close your eyes, listen to a meditation, whatever.
Yeah.
But those are huge ones, and that all
Lo-
supports the vitamin D, the mood, the ability to have that motivation in the morning.
mhm.
Supports the immunity, which is another huge part of that, right? Because like when
Yeah.
we're in these stress states, when we're not getting enough vitamin D, guess what it all affects? And that's the immunity. And then we get
A
sick
hundred
and
percent.
everything gets passed around, right? So
Yeah.
anyways, we can boost the immunity. We love the mushrooms. Like the mushrooms are amazing for that. Like lion's mane, turkey tail. We got one called the Viva Vegas we really love. But digestive enzymes, just getting your probiotics, prebiotics, that type of thing. Any
Yeah.
during this time, super huge.
Yeah, if you can, I always try to say watch the sugar and watch the carbs, right? When you're not feeling well, sugar's going to feed the illness. It's going to help drive it forward and it's going to probably prolong it a little bit longer because it's just taking so much more to burn in your body. So if you can, anytime you're sick, looking at your minerals, looking at what's going into the body, you may crave certain things, but taking a look before you go to grab the chocolate bar, what does it mean when you crave chocolate? What does it mean when you're craving, chips? You're normally missing magnesium, you're normally missing potassium, you're normally, so it's not not actually that you want the thing, it's that the body is trying to get the thing through a different mechanism. So sometimes it just takes 2.5 seconds to pop on Google and go, I'm actually craving a lot of chocolate. What does that mean? And it'll say, okay, maybe low iron, low potassium. Like, it'll give you a pretty good breakdown of what you're looking at there. And again, that's what these tools are for. Use them as tools and use them to way to help benefit your life.
Love that. Love that. And that goes into what we chatted about last week, like with the chat GPT and stuff, have a little chat bot that you just like, if you have questions like that come up,
Yeah.
put it in there like, hey, I'm craving this. I'm actually craving this. It'll give you
That
some
never hurts.
good resources you can check online and go about it a different way, because it happens fast too. Once you switch that habit, switch that thing, it's like, oh, all of a sudden that craving's gone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's again just paying attention to your body and letting it talk instead of just being reactionary and grabbing the thing that you think that's going to solve the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Love it.
absolutely.
Well, this is the fun one. So really going back through it, hydrogen has a lot of potential. If you want to check it out, do some research, see what's around you at some of these wellness clinics and stuff, and talk to some people that are doing a bit of a deeper dive into like the actual treatments and stuff.
Yep.
And then cortisol, couple fun tools. Thank you, Kelsey. Those are going to be
Always.
amazing. And
Always.
then some subs that can support. And then when it comes to the mood and like, let's get our sleep, vitamin D, how can we utilize these other tools that are all going to relay into that stuff?
Absolutely. And just, again, be aware of your energy. Your kids are feeling it. You're feeling it. Everyone else around you feeling it. And there are ways for you to better that. And it doesn't have to be so complicated. So give yourself a break. Go breathe. Go gargle. Go sing in the car. It will actually help. Get your kids singing a Christmas song together. It's like teaching their vagus nerve to respond without even teaching them and telling them what they're doing. That's always a fun one. And I think just long term, just being patient with yourself over this break. It's okay to be tired. It's okay to need rest. It's okay to say no and to protect your boundaries. You are not obligated. Look after yourself the best you can this holiday season. And I think that it'll end up being a little bit easier on your body if you give some of these tools a try.
100%. Well
Yeah.
said. Well said.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, sweet. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And I will leave the show notes in the description so you can go check out the information for yourself too.
Perfect.
And we'll be back here next week with some more trends coming real close to Christmas.
Yes.
And yeah, and you get home safe and safe
Thanks, man.
travel. Enjoy the rest of that sun.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I will talk to you guys all next week.
All right, guys. Peace.
Bye.